Good morning, our wonderful people. Welcome to the program. My sister is not here. She's running a little bit behind, and she will be here in a New York minute. Welcome to the program. Happy Saturday. Um, we are fortunate to have you as part of the stakeholders that is doing this work. We need to continue what we're doing. We have no other alternative. You can see that everyone is paralyzed, especially in Nigeria. The labor union is paralyzed, the ASU is paralyzed, the student union is everything is paralyzed, and it was intentionally done so that when they begin to unleash this level of wickedness upon us, nobody will react. But thank God for Ninas. Ninas is here to ensure that the right thing or the right things are done. We cannot be bought. We cannot go under the table with the enemies. We will stand firm for the sake of our people. There's the reason why God allowed us to be here for a time like this. Somebody has to stand firm when something like everything has given, nothing is left. So, welcome to the program. Please, as usual, help us to share, like, subscribe, hit the notification buttons. If you guys can help us to do this, we'll go a long way. They are seriously blocking what we're doing so that our people don't get freedom, that we begin, continue to call on God as if He's somewhere in the toilet, constipated, when we know that our God is alive and well. So it's all intentional, but the work is offline anyway. The work is offline. The goal is for us to understand what needs to be done and then take it to the grassroots and begin to do the work. So, welcome to the program. Help us to share, like, subscribe. Today, we are in to continue the part two of the stronghold, the Colonial Stronghold that we started last week. So we will finish up the part two of it. But before we go to the video, um, let's play our video of the week just for you to be sharing while we are listening to what our brother um, has to tell us. And when we tell you that we don't have any freedom, that we are being held hostage, while they are out there shouting that we are free, then you will understand. So nothing in our land, none of our resources belong to us. It belongs to other people, and they do whatever they want with it. As if it's not enough, they are also sowing seed of discord. They're sowing even another level of terrorism to displace the owners of the land, the indigenous peoples. So all these things are strategies used by enemies. They've been using it all along. It's just that they have access to media. So they will do whatever they need to do in the background. Then they will go in the front end and start shouting and pretending like they are God and they're children of God and they're doing the right things. When we know that everything that they have set up is not meant for our well-being. So I am going to pull up this video. Please continue to help us to share. They are blocking it once again. And we want to thank those that, reached out to us last week after watching that video. It was an eye-opening experience for some people. They got some information that they didn't know was there. So we thank God for knowledge. Knowledge is power. And that's what we come here to do every Saturday, to give you guys the information that we need to make a well-informed decision. So let's listen to this brother here as he describes what happens to our resources.
Nigeria was the third largest oil producing nation in the world. Today, Nigeria does not own its own oil reserves, which is still the third largest in the world, but BP and Shell and Exxon owns all the rights of the oil in Nigeria. They take the oil out of it, and after that, they sell it back to the Nigerian government. Who did that? The IMF and the World Bank. These are the Kafirs we're dealing with. Second, making the dollar, whether it is the Australian dollar or the French dollar, or we call them dollars, but we know they call them different currencies, making the currency in the West prevalent as a source of value and eliminating the gold. Because when gold becomes the standard, the countries who have the gold become what? The possessors of the wealth. But they tricked the world and they took the currency and made it the wealth. And so then they took the wealth, paper dollars, and then they took and bought the gold from those countries with paper. So they took the gold and they own it now. All the gold is in Fort Knox and some other places, and they gave those people currency. Then after they gave them the currency, they depreciated the currency through wars. Then they told them now you can borrow more currency, okay, at 20%. And so now they own the country. Devils, tricksters, continuing to make developing countries markets for consumption.
Okay, I need us to listen to what this guy said again, please. I'm gonna replay this video so we can understand the wickedness of the people that we are dealing with.
Was the third largest oil producing nation in the world. Today, Nigeria does not own its own oil reserves, which is still the third largest in the world, but BP and Shell and Exxon owns all the rights of the oil in Nigeria. They take the oil out of it, and after that they sell it back to the Nigerian government. Who did that? The IMF and the World Bank. These are the Kafirs we're dealing with. Second, making the dollar, whether it is the Australian dollar or the French dollar, or we call them dollars, but we know they call them different currencies, making the currency in the West prevalent as a source of value and eliminating the gold. Because when gold becomes the standard, the countries who have the gold become what? The possessors of the wealth. But they tricked the world and they took the currency and made it the wealth. And so then they took the wealth, paper dollars, and then they took and bought the gold from those countries with paper. So they took the gold and they own it now. All the gold is in Fort Knox and some other places, and they gave those people currency. Then after they gave them the currency, they depreciated the currency through wars. Then they told them now you can borrow more currency, okay, at 20%. And so now they own the country. Devils, tricksters, continuing to make developing countries.
No kidding. All right, we're going to stop sharing. As you can see, we are dealing with devil with 10, what is it called? 10-headed demons. That's what we are dealing with. It's not just one person. They're all over the place. So you would think by now we would have received enough to say, hey, enough of this madness. Look at Niger. Niger is one of the highest growing economies since they kicked out the colonialists. Should we call them the colonial terrorists, the ones that will implant terrorists and tell you, oh, they are coming to defend it for you. Oh, if you remove us, there will be no democracy left and the terrorists will come for you. Really? In 2023, we are believing that cock and bull story. Let's continue with the video that we started last week. So it's all about the money. IMF, the British government, their Western allies, they are all on this together, all of them. They are the ones that kept us in a shithole condition. And then they will come out and remind us that we come from a shithole country. And some people will be angry. It is a shithole country. And the designer of the shithole is telling us what it is. They make sure that nothing moves forward. And that's why no matter what you do, until we rebuild the foundation, we will be running in circles. Some people are not understanding this. It's not making sense to them. They are saying, how is it possible? But how is it possible that you're the third or the sixth? Because they will lie to you. Maybe the first, but they don't want you to get big head. So they may call it the sixth oil producing country. How is it that you live in the sixth so-called oil producing country and your life is on fire? Nothing has changed for you since the day you were born. There's a reason for it. It's not demonic. It's not your ancestors. It's not your forefathers. It's not your father's second wife. It's not your stepbrother. It's not your stepsisters. It's not any of that. It's the policies put in place that kept you in that condition. Or they are the policies that are put in place that kept us in that condition. So nothing has changed. It is what it is. So, but we know what to do. We are not confused about what we need to do to move forward. It's the criminals that are confused, the ones that are the errand boys for the colonialists. They are the ones that are confusing us, penetrating all the union organizations that we have for a time like this, and capturing them, keeping them in a condition where they cannot do anything. When a student union is driving a Range Rover, what is left? You think that student union is going to come out and do anything for you? No. That's why they will close the Alaba market in Lagos. And the chairperson that claimed to be running the place wouldn't even protest. He wouldn't even gather the men and say, let's go and stand in front of the government house for 2 hours. They've been bought, all of them. So, Colonial Stronghold Part 2. Once again, as the British Empire began to decline post World War II, the British elites, they saw their wealth dwindling, their privileges, and the empire. They began to look for a new role in the changing world. What did they do? They came up with a spider web to still loop everybody in, stealing their resources, while the face that you're looking at will be your brother. So they will tell you, oh, I have left. Your president is your brother. It's one of you guys. And we know that he's not truly in charge. The British Empire is the largest empire the world has ever known. It ruled for over 300 years, invading, stealing, killing, maiming, conquering independent kingdoms and nations. And we can see from this spider web that they have taken over the secret world of finance. Oh, Diego, the person that got the money is the person that will do the deed. So they understood that. While you thought you were getting independence, they were actually stealing a whole lot of you. I wish even better for them, because before they have to come up with a machine gun to keep you down and doing this. Now they are just relaxing in Cayman Island and the money is coming without them making any noise. What a business deal. So how did this transformative transformation change the world that we live in? How did the policies and the regulations and the secrets to protect the owners of the stolen wealth across the globe? Why are there more banks in London than any other place? It's not by accident, it was by design. And then we will be looking into how British offshore financial works, how they have this sophisticated cheating system that help the colonial puppets in Africa cheat their people, communities, and countries. So it's not that difficult to understand what has happened to us. So let's continue with this video from where we stopped last week. Please continue to help us to share and like and all those things. We shall win. Once again, we do want to thank those that reached out about the video, show from last week. We are always here to take your phone calls. You can email us, you can message us, you can chat us up, you can call us. I'll post the phone number later on so that we can put heads together. These people are not smarter than you. You can see the president in the Harvard. The president doesn't know what genocide means. She doesn't know the president. That's where Ngozi Okenja went. She doesn't know the difference between genocide and free speech. They don't know anymore. The same way a Supreme Court justice doesn't know the difference between male and female. You can see we're in a very big quagmire. So that's why we need to understand what we need to do to be able to take back our sovereignty and begin to build a nation that our future generation will benefit from. I will start from here.
US that blocked attempts again to set up this World Tax Organization. So why would they not want to have democratic decision making in global decisions on how tax gets collected across borders? I don't understand this. As long as we have cross-border activity that involves both criminal and legal activity, as long as we're unable to separate the two, this is going to continue to be a problem.
Western nations block attempts to provide greater transparency of international financial flows and the implementation of global standards for the collection of tax across borders, whilst elites in developing nations use offshore centers to hide their wealth offshore.
The oil from Gabon has not benefited people in Gabon. And this is true for the copper in Zambia, for the gold in Mozambique or in Mali. They have benefited the company that do extract it and their shareholders. It has benefited the corrupt elite in the country.
In developing countries, The offshore system of tax havens has facilitated the looting of these countries by their elites. It has enabled them to steal the money and keep it safe somewhere else.
Illicit financial flows, because the anonymity that drives them creates incentives for people in positions of power to be corrupt. This is why there's a group of countries where development progress is so difficult. It's that the incentives of individuals and the ability to pursue them through all the mechanisms that underpin illicit flows outweigh the type of mechanisms that lead you to a powerful, representative, effective state that can start to deliver development.
Worldwide, developing countries lose over $1 trillion every year in capital flight and tax.
Do we hear that? Worldwide, we lose $1 trillion every year. We lose $1 trillion. Just imagine that in your head. Every year, we lose $1 trillion every year. These are the ones that are accounted for, though, that are accounted for. It's not the ones that we don't know about. These are the ones they can actually track that we are talking about. So it could potentially be $10 trillion every month. And yet, our young ones are dying at the Mediterranean Sea.
Evasion. Most of this wealth flows into large Western nations like the United States and Britain and enables their currencies to stay strong, whilst developing nations' currencies remain weak. But illicit flows into Western nations also had another unexpected side effect. The economies of the United States and Britain began to financialize. The origins of this financialization, or de-industrialization, go back to the 1960s.
Anti-war demonstrators protest U.S. involvement in the Vietnam War in mass marches, rallies, and demonstrations. President Johnson, meanwhile, let it be known that the FBI is closely watching all anti-war activity.
In the 1960s, U.S. economist Michael Hudson was working at Chase Manhattan Bank on Wall Street as Chase's balance of payments economist.
During the 1960s, the United States balance of payments deficit was entirely a result of foreign military expenditures.
Dollars were flowing out of the United States as a result of the cost of the Vietnam War. The United States attempted to prevent the dollars flowing to Vietnam from being deposited in foreign banks.
The government asked Chase to set up a branch in Saigon during the Vietnam War. And as you can imagine, it didn't have windows. It was sort of a fortress. It lost money, but the government went to Chase because it said, if you don't get this money that's being thrown off by the military in Vietnam, then it's going to go into French banks. It'll get to General de Gaulle, and you know what he's going to do every month. He's going to cash it in for gold. That's what the United States was trying to stop.
The US was not successful in stopping the outflow of money, so it began to hatch a different plan. In 1967, Michael Hudson was handed a memo by a former State Department employee.
In 1967, I was given by a former State Department employee in the elevator at Chase Manhattan a memo from the State Department urging that Chase Manhattan would take the lead in helping the United States become the Switzerland of the world, meaning the flight capital. The State Department, through Chase, asked me to estimate how much money do you think is available if America were to become the new Switzerland, and how do we do it? The plan was to organize offshore banking centers in the Caribbean and elsewhere, and the hot money wouldn't come directly into Chase because that wouldn't be nice and very legal. What happened was that the Latin American criminals, other criminals, drug dealers, all sorts of organized crime would put their money in the offshore Caribbean banks, and these offshore banks would then deposit the inflow in the head office.
By moving offshore dollars back into the United States, the US was able to stop the outflow of dollars and support the value of its currency.
Every country looks to its foreign exchange rate. And the foreign exchange rate is not only imports and exports, it's capital movements. And if you look at the International Monetary Fund's monthly international financial statistics, you have sort of a steady balance of trade, a steady immigrants' remittances. What goes up and down are called errors and omissions. What the United Nations and the IMF call errors and omissions are flight capital. It's the reason that it's omitted is they don't like to really look at this. In the 1930s, Roy Ovid Hall, economist for the U.S. Commerce Department, wanted to include criminal movements in the balance of payment statistics. And Congress got very upset. I was told in Washington, the argument was, we're a Christian country. We don't want to report crime. It's just, don't look at it. And they forbid him to include criminal money in the balance of payments. I guess now you call it errors and omissions. You don't call it criminal inflow and outflow.
Did you hear that? Errors and omissions. It's not criminal inflow and outflow. Errors and omissions. So whenever you're reading these statements and you see that, that's accounts for the criminal money, for lack of Obodo Igbo language. You're going to do fraud. Akboroka, what 419? Why you? The same 419 they call Nigerians that they are. They've been doing it while we are sleeping, before our forefathers were born. So, but they have English name for it. Errors and omission. The same way they will go and steal money, they will call it money laundering. So when you sit in your house, you're hearing wrong money laundering, you're thinking they're washing the money and they're gonna bring it back clean. Oyibo, how go wayo? When they commit crime, they call it embellishment. They will embellish the word. Anywhere you will be speaking, you will be calling Jesus to come and bless the work of their hands. So it's been ongoing. Errors and omission. We should mark that.
In the 1960s and 70s, Britain was faced with a similar dilemma as the United States. Money was flowing out, and this decreased the value of the pound. Britain realized that it, too, could support the value of its currency by opening its domestic markets to the trillions of dollars passing through its offshore havens. But just as in the United States, this had an unexpected side effect.
The British banks today, just as in the 19th century, don't put their money into British manufacturing. They put their money into real estate speculation, into financial speculation, foreign currency trade. So the financialization of London has helped deindustrialize the country because it's enabled sterling to be supported by this huge inflow of hot money, this inflow of drug dealing money and criminal money and tax evasion money all over the world that is going to London instead of going to Switzerland, Liechtenstein, or the Caribbean.
With the silent backing of the United States, Britain's offshore havens grew rapidly. And before long, the offshore system developed into the world's dominant international financial market. Few were aware how this market functioned. In 1986, economist John Christensen went offshore to investigate. He applied for a position at the Jersey office of one of the world's major accounting firms.
At Deloitte & Touche, I was working in what's called company and trust administration, straightforward offshore stuff. I went offshore specifically to work in that area because that's where you're dealing with the offshore companies, the shell companies, the offshore trusts, and you're administering them. That way I could see from working inside a big global accounting firm exactly what the clients were doing.
I had complete access to all the client files. And over the course of my period of working with Deloitte & Touche, I investigated over 100 of their clients offshore, and this is what I found. There were some insider traders, some market rigging, some avoiding disclosure of conflicts of interest, illicit arms trading, illicit political campaign donations, contract kickbacks, bribery, fraudulent invoicing, trade mispricing, and at the bottom, tax evasion. Okay? This is what the clients were doing.
The basis of a sample of the clients I looked at Not a single client was involved in what I would regard as genuinely legitimate activity. They were all involved in some kind of tax dodging or worse.
I met with Carl Levin. He used to be an American senator, and he made a lot of inquiries into private banking, asking questions to the bankers. What do you think the percentage is among your clients that are using these companies for legitimate purposes? And the answer was, I believe that 99.9% of my clients are using these companies for illicit purposes. This is a reality. This is American bankers telling what they are doing. And it's exactly the same thing with UK bankers helping their clients to have accounts in Panama or in Bermuda or in Cayman Islands.
Secrecy jurisdictions are heavily used for fraudulent and grey area financial activities. Areas where secrecy is not just desirable, but a necessity. Legitimate financial activity has no need for the secrecy offshore havens provide, nor a desire to pay the high fees offshore banks and law firms charge. Today, close to half of the world's secrecy jurisdictions are British dependencies. In public, these jurisdictions claim they are transparent and their financial services sectors are engaged in legitimate financial activities.
Our economy is not based on secrecy. It's based on transparency. It's based on a sound regulatory environment. It's based on good governance and good government with a British government legal system. That's what our financial institutions.
You see one of the puppets, right? You can tell when you see them. They will be speaking the language of the master, and you will see them with the expensive glasses and their Versace suits and everything, and they have the decorative offices, and they will sit there and deceive our people, because you sit there, if you happen to have an Igbo name, some person might say, oh yeah, he's Igbo, he's there, he's representing us. My dear, it's about time we wake up and understand that these people are representing themselves. They are never for you. When they go to Harvard, Yale, all these big Ivy League school, my dear, they are there for themselves. They are not there for you. If you think about it, if they are there for us, how come our lives have not changed? How come nothing has happened to impact our lives all this time that we've been living nothing? But they've been there, they've been sharing, they've been knowing each other. Look at him. He's there talking jazz when we know that everything that came out of his mouth is a lie. But of course, they have to use someone that looks like you so that you're not in doubt about who is doing you. But we know there's somebody behind that is definitely pushing this puppet that we are listening to right now.
Institutions are based on.
Well, tonight we have a response from the head of Cayman Finance after a group of U.S.-based anti-tax evasion activists announced plans.
Please continue to help us to share. They are knocking people off and on. Somebody just texted me. They've been trying to log in. They can't. So please help us to continue to click that like button. This is what they do. They don't want us to get this information. They want us to, I go chop your money dancing when our lives are on fire. So please, as you're watching, help us to share and hit that like button so that we can knock off their stupid algorithm. Thank you.
To travel to Cayman.
Hi, below. The commercial people are here. Let's see. Do I even know how to do this? Let's see. Give me a minute, y'all. I am trying to, and it's one of those ones that must run. Like I can't fast forward it. So let me just mute it and skip. Okay. So I'll bring it back up. Thank you for your patience.
Chairman, Mr. Richard Cole, says he's encouraging the group to visit and says our financial sector has nothing to hide.
I would say if anybody wants to come to Cayman to find out what's coming, what we do here, Come on down.
Criminal.
We have no secrets here.
Mm-hmm.
When I went to the Cayman Islands back in 2008, I think it was, I called the government spokesman and he said, okay, we have had an order from on high that nobody is allowed to speak to you. You are off limits.
In 2011, journalist Nicholas Shaxson released Treasure Islands, a groundbreaking book about the offshore system.
The author of a series of international media reports says he would welcome a debate with Cayman Finance Chair Tony Travers. Mr. Travers recently called Nicholas Shaxson an imbecile with the understanding of an 11-year-old.
There are always going to be the politics of envy. Now, the politics of envy are exacerbated by imbeciles who don't actually understand what's going on in the Cayman Islands. I don't know what he's talking about. And furthermore, he doesn't know what he's talking about.
The Cayman Islands is the 5th largest financial center in the world. It hosts 80,000 registered companies, over 3/4 of the world's hedge funds, and $1.9 trillion in deposits. It has a population of 60,000, roughly equivalent to New York's homeless population. A strange mixture of characters populate the offshore world. British ex-public schoolboys, members of the world's intelligence services, global criminals, assorted lords and ladies, and bankers galore. With so much at stake for so many wealthy and powerful individuals, it may come as no surprise that Britain's offshore havens have developed their own curious mechanisms to prevent information from leaking out.
For many people who work offshore and who don't like what they're doing, it's very hard indeed to dissent, because they will be attacked personally with a degree of viciousness which is quite extraordinary. Most of the time, the instruments of suppression are relatively sophisticated. You won't get promotion by doing this, or a family won't like it.
It's not generally, let's slam them in prison. That's far too crude. We are talking about very substantially, the establishment, the British establishment in these cases. The mechanisms are very, very subtle. Sort of ostracism is one way of doing it. These peculiar mechanisms for, if someone tries to blow the whistle, you find all sorts of methods that aren't the most, just fire them, you give them far too much work to do, you steer them in a different direction.
One person who is intimately familiar with how suppression works offshore is former Jersey Senator and Health Minister Stuart Sivray. In 2009, he leaked a report on a rogue nurse suspected of killing patients at Jersey's hospital.
It all came to a head during a state's debate on Tuesday the 10th of March. Senator Stuart Sivray brought the sitting to a standstill, claiming Senator Jimmy Pershard had sworn at him and told him to go and top himself. Senator Pershard denied the claim, saying, "I absolutely refute that." But less than a week later, he was forced to admit he'd lied. Senator Pershard has now admitted that on another occasion, he did tell Senator Stuart Sivray to go and do everyone a favour and slit his wrists.
I was arrested at my house one morning by 6 plainclothes police officers. There were another 2 specialist data search police officers on hand, and also another 2 police officers in full body armour, one of those battering rams they kind of use in drugs raids. So 10 police officers descended on me without a search warrant. The property was turned over from top to bottom. All of the computers were seized and searched. All kinds of private constituency data was stolen by the police.
Shortly after we began filming, a police officer exited the police station. As he hurried past, he grinned at the camera. The officer was on his way to test the sirens on his motorbike, which he did at intervals throughout much of the remainder of the interview.
When it came to prosecuting me,
Stuart Sivray was prosecuted under the data protection law.
Now, when the authorities were prosecuting me, I claimed that this was a legitimate public.
So this part is a little bit confusing. This is a guy that, is a whistleblower, and basically what they're trying to show us how they're trying to make his life miserable. for trying to tell what's going on. So basically, that's what is they're discussing here. When you try to speak, they will use all sorts of intimidation to ensure that other people don't come. They will even abandon you. Your friends will neglect you. Nobody will come around you. And then with that, the next person wouldn't want to, become a whistleblower. So I know it's a little bit confusing on this portion.
Yes, Sister Muna, sorry. Can I come in?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, sorry, my people are late. It's so strange. I mean, it's so sad how they do these things. Like how our people will say, "Madi jim majideji." They don't hold the yam, they hold the knife. They are dictating the tune. They are the ones playing the piper. So whatever they want, and you dare not say anything. Even their own people that want to talk on truth, their own people that want to do the right thing, if they try it, they will come for you. What is that telling us? That we are not going to sit down waiting for people to help us to get our freedom, to help us to liberate our people and our land from these colonizers, because they're very intentional in everything they're doing. There was somebody I was discussing with this during the week. It was like, it's so crazy how the devil is so strategic. Nothing he does is by chance. He sits down, him and his agents, and they work on these things line after line and get these things done. What does that expect from us? What we that we are held down? What does that mean? What does that mean to us? That we cannot do things anyhow. We must sit down and plan or join the plan that is already on ground to free our land, free our resources. We are not going to wish it. Oh, yes, we continue to wish it away. Then one day, things go like Nigerians say, it go better. God day, it go better. No, there's no better that will better you. You and your children will be destroyed because these people are very determined and are very passionate in their evil and zealous at the same time. Just let me add that. Please go ahead.
Absolutely.
Interest disclosure defence. And I, with an expert witness, was able to produce a set of reports that effectively destroyed the prosecution case.
In reaction to this, the magistrates ruled that Stuart Sivre's defence case, that he had leaked the report in the public interest, would no longer be admissible, but continued to prosecute him all the same, without a defence case. Over the past 7 years, Stuart Sivre has been repeatedly taken to court and imprisoned 3 times. He does not know when or if the persecution will end, nor does he know when he will find himself behind bars again.
To look at Jersey from the outside, it looks like it's got a prosecution system, it looks like it's got a court and a legislature, but none of it's real. It's a Potemkin village. None of these systems in Jersey meet the tests of being objective or actually functioning properly.
The experience that Stuart Sivre had is, he's perhaps at the blunter end of the scale. He was simply suppressed and taken to court on trumped-up charges.
So let's carry on pretending to do the interview. They might get bored. This is the kind of how oppression happens in Jersey. See, all kinds of little things get done to harass people. Even they don't often go to the kind of extremes that they did against me in terms of actually arresting me and putting me in prison. But the authorities use all kinds of other lesser little methods to interfere with people, kind of sabotage things. Obstruct people, make life difficult for people. If you annoy the establishment in Jersey, you won't get a job here. Your children won't get decent jobs. That's kind of how it works.
I went to Jersey in March 2009 with Nick Shackson. About 24 hours after we arrived in Jersey, we were there for several days. Nick said, have you noticed that we're being followed? Ever since we arrived at the airport, we've been followed. He said, don't look now, but we're being followed now. Turns out he was quite correct. We were being followed. And I found that very disturbing indeed.
Hello? Okay. Could I go ahead?
They have a saying in Jersey, if you don't like it here, there's always a boat in the morning. Jersey Finance promotional literature states, Jersey represents an extension of the City of London.
It's where the City of London chooses to do many of the activities which they couldn't do in London itself.
We're here just to talk about this one company called Appleby. I'll just read what they say on their website. Members of the firm, Appleby, have gone on not only to political office, but also in a number of centres, Bermuda, Jersey, the Isle of Man and the Cayman Islands, to senior judicial office. So essentially, they're boasting of the fact that their staff and their partners have a real interchange between the people that are in power in these offshore financial centres.
The same lawyers and accountants who set up and administer offshore trusts also occupy senior political positions. In Britain's offshore world, most politicians are in business. They lobby for business and promote business interests. They draft, refine, and pass legislation. Politicians sit on the boards of the companies they are supposed to regulate.
There is no place for dirty money in Britain. Indeed, there should be no place for dirty money anywhere. The challenge I'm laying down for every country today is to root out the rot of corruption, to ensure transparency over what your own companies are doing. Require transparency.
You know who this is, right?
Yeah. Okay, Britain now. Gaddafi, yeah.
The one that said Nigeria is fantastically corrupt.
Yes.
Do you know that his father is part of these people in Cayman Island hiding money? His father. That's how he got the money to push him up to the way of him being the prime minister. These animal telling us that, you know, we have no place for. This is what they do, my dear. They use one hand. They will be in the background doing all sort of a manner of criminality or criminalities, because it's more than one. And then they will come out at the front end with their media and say, we captured 20 criminals today. We will prosecute them and give them 1 million years. We have no tolerance for criminality. My dear, it's all a facade. All they are doing is confuse people that they want to confuse. At the background, they are the one committing the amount of crimes they are committing. You wouldn't even fathom it, talk less of you doing it. We've been played, people. We have been played. This guy now is even in trouble as we speak with the British government or with the House of their parliament, because he's working with China, and they just made him some type of minister. And he said, I just stopped working with them last week because they appointed me to be whatever they appointed him for this week. My dear, if we don't wake up and take back our sovereignty by removing this 1999 constitution, if we don't wake up and you think there's some British God that is waiting to come and rescue you, you have something else coming for you. Let's listen to what this brother has to say after the so-called Prime Minister tells us about transparency. They are all about transparency.
Yeah, hold on. Before, let me add one or two things. So you see, that's what we want our people to understand. When you hear international politics or hear international diplomacy, you think that you're dealing with some form of gentlemen, some noble human beings. And they will stand on your face with their face straight, lie to you. Okay, bro, Tony wrote something. He said Tony Blair sits on the board of Dangote companies directly.
Of course.
Proxy. Because these people, all of them, their fathers were the colonizers. Just like the politicians that we have in Africa now, their own fathers worked with the colonizers. They are the warrant chiefs, the children of warrant chiefs, like in Anibo. They call them warrant chiefs because these colonizers came into our land, removed all our natural leaders, our natural priests, the people that love the land and love the people. They killed all of them and appointed their warrant chiefs to take over to do their biddings. And the fake politicians you see today, that when Ninas is saying, We need our people to be free. They don't listen. Their fathers were the warren chiefs. They worked with these colonizers to get Africa where Africa is today. That's why they are continuing in that pattern with their counterparts abroad, coming from the colonizers. So you see, we have gone to next generation of evilness, next generation of iniquity. Ndị Igbo will say mpo, next generation of impunity. Yeah, that's impunity is impunity. What are we saying? Like my sister has said, we can't afford not to wake up. We can't afford not to be informed, very informed. We cannot afford to be naive.
Over-informed. We need to be over-informed.
We need to be over-informed. For you to lead our people successfully, for you to say you want to represent our people, you must know who our enemies are and know what the interest of the people that you want to represent is. What is their yearning? We say we want to be free, we want self-determination. No, you say you want to represent us, but your own is to buy SUV. Which one do you want? I will continue to
Same thing. Do you know that the current leaders of even the United States, when you look at their family trees, all of them come from family of slave owners? I think
exactly.
They say 8.
Yes.
So same people, they are the one that, did slavery. They are the one that went to Harvard and Yale, and they formed the so-called Illuminatis, and they're all there commanding and controlling everything, and nothing is changing. The same people, they use the resources that they have earned. So that's why it's not even just us, that everybody needs to gain some knowledge so that we know what we're dealing with now. Yes. So we know what we're dealing with. These people that were willing, they are not even tired. How can you steal for 500 years and it's not enough? Are you that
evil? That evil.
We want 2 years, even 1 month to steal everything I want to steal. You will never hear from me. I will disappear. You guys are stealing for 500 years and it's not enough. How dumb are you that you cannot manage what you have stolen for 500 years?
My dear, it's not just that they're dumb, they're evil. They were planted on this earth to commit iniquity. They are descendants of iniquity. They are descendants of evilness, Lucifer, to hold human beings down, to hold humanity down, and make sure that the will of God is not done on this earth. That all we will see is suffering, sorrow, death, and all sorts of things. War, every evil. They are agents of Lucifer. And our people need to understand this. You're dealing with principalities and powers. They are not just ordinary human beings. These are demons. So we need to understand the thing we are dealing with. This is not politics. For those that are telling you, oh, Igbo people don't know how to play politics. This ones know how to play it very well. My people, it's not politics. Stop this. This is evilness, iniquity. This is principalities and powers that we are dealing with. You need to understand it so that you understand when Ninas say 1999 constitution has to go down so that you can be free. You will understand it. It will make sense to you. You will not be arguing blindly. Go ahead.
So the resources in your land will belong to you. It's not that complicated.
It's not.
You won't belong to a random oil company or oil companies that will take your resources, destroy the land. It's not even that they're taking the resources, they are destroying the way of life for our people, and nobody is saying anything. And how is it that Saudi Arabia, they have all this oil, not they are doing good, Dubai is doing good, our own became a curse? They have taken everything and destroyed the damn land that you can't even breathe air without breathing black air.
My dear, we'll go back to the roots. You know, we said, we have had this show when we said, these are descendants of Esau and descendants of Ishmael. If you check in this world what is going on, there are 3 key groups that are this whole story. Every story you are looking at is surrounding these 3 groups. And you go to the root so that you can understand why is it that Saudi Arabia has all the oil. They are doing well. We have oil. We are not doing well. It's our own oil water. Is in Miriokwa. The oil we have is in Miriokwa. Is it not the same oil? There is something below. I'll read what Brother Tony wrote. Say, like Blair, former UK Prime Minister Cameron and Gordon Brown are children of colonial civil servants.
Mm-hmm.
Who set up the unworkable Nigeria we are caught in now? You see that?
They will keep eating because the money is too much. They will go to Harvard and spend 10 years there to get a 4-year degree. And then they will tell us, oh, Harvard students are smarter than everybody else. Oh, they went to Harvard. They went to Yale. They went to here. They went to here. And then when you encounter them one-on-one, my brother, you will run. It's Iboribo of the highest order. When you counter them, that's why a whole president in the Harvard, they were asking her about genocide. This woman was confused about genocide and free speech all at the same time. The whole president.
Are you surprised?
Am I surprised? How am I going to be surprised when they don't know the difference between male and female?
Exactly.
And we are allowing these people to make decisions for us. They've been ruling this world. Look at the world. Is this the world you want to be in?
No.
The so-called Ivy League elite, they have run us to hell with their so-called degrees and their professorship. Nothing is happening.
You mentioned
war everywhere, hunger everywhere, hatred everywhere. When we have enough resources to care for everyone, God, we are not here by accident.
No.
God understood He has enough resources to take care of everyone. But the so-called elite, the same colonial terrorists, bandits, they've been banditing all along. Their eyes are everywhere. The one that kills me most, my people, is when they are the one doing the damage, and then they will come out on TV to be acting like they're God or sincere or innocent. Evil. You're the one doing the killing. You're the one planting the terrorists. You're the one funding the terrorists. You're the one stealing the oil. You're the one stealing the resources. And then you come out on TV. Yes, we care about human rights. Human rights. You don't touch human rights.
That's the strategy. That's the strategy. You fund terrorism. And then the victims, you brainwash them into believing that you are the good guy.
Hey.
That's why the world is in a mess. That's why we are where we are. And we are telling our people to wake up. Wake up. Do you know that these colonial masters' children have houses in Kaduna? They still live as indigenes of Kaduna because they went to primary school over there. So they are on the ground. For those of you that keep saying colonialism has ended, let's say my brother Obi Ukwama, he talk about Takia. When you lie to the enemy, because we told you that they use all this religion to brainwash our people. In Islamic religion, it is permitted to lie to the enemy and do anything you want to do to them. Just not that said, that is why all should embrace the Nina's framework and strategy. You can't defeat these people without strategy. You can't defeat them with just scratch on your head. Monday, you say this. Tuesday is Biafra. Wednesday is Igbo Biafra. The other day is zombie. You don't be running here and there. If they tell you don't have strategy, you don't have map, you go inside your room, draw something and come out and say, we are releasing the map of Biafra. We are releasing the map of Izombe. We are releasing the map of Ndemo. That is not strategy, my brother. Stop fooling yourself. What we are dealing with is bigger. It's way bigger than you can imagine.
It's 1 trillion headed demons.
Yes. What we are dealing with is not for small boys. It's not something that you just wake up from the one room, where whatever, and then appear and say, yes, I want to lead my people. That's why some of you, they don't even listen to you. Like, they just say, because they know you're playing around. So they just leave you to fool yourselves around. It's my people I feel sorry for. My people that don't know any better, that are following you people, thinking that you know something and you're going to somewhere. And at the end, they're losing their lives and losing their resources. People that are already poor, now they're even losing more because of lack of information, which is why we come here every Saturday. Try to bring well-researched information to you so that you can begin to put things together. So it will...
All right.
See, for foreign companies in your country too, and work with us to spread this approach to transparency around the world.
In public, British politicians claim they are cracking down on secrecy jurisdictions and corruption. But in practice, they do the opposite.
And when I talk to politicians in Brussels, they say that they've had more lobbyists from London, and including politicians, come to them to protect the City of London's interests than they've had from every other European member state combined, which gives you some idea of the extent to which British politicians
Oh
see
my God.
themselves as essentially
I
lobbyists.
think they said the same thing. I didn't even know. They said that the same way what we just said. They will say something else at the front end and they will tell you something else at the back end. Let's replay that again.
In your country too, and work with us to spread this approach to transparency around the world.
In public, British politicians claim they're cracking down on secrecy jurisdictions and corruption. But in practice, they do the opposite.
And when I talk to politicians in Brussels, they say that they've had more lobbyists from London, and including politicians, come to them to protect the City of London's interests than they've had from every other European member state combined, which gives you some idea of the extent to which British politicians see themselves as essentially lobbyists for the City of London.
We begin with our big story. Cayman's efforts to ensure transparency in its financial services sector is being recognised by the international community. Earlier this week, the UK's Prime Minister David Cameron told Parliament that the tax haven label placed on its crown dependencies and overseas territories is unfair.
Many British politicians have personal and business ties with the City of London and British secrecy jurisdictions. Former British Prime Minister David Cameron's father, Ian Cameron, was an expert in offshore funds and was involved in offshore trusts from the 1980s onwards.
At this courthouse behind me here in St Helier, we found this. It's a document called a grant of probate, and it's attached to the English will of none other than Ian Cameron, David Cameron's father.
Say hello to Mum and Dad. Hi, Pa. How are you? Good to see you.
Ian Cameron was certainly a wealthy man. In 2009, his personal fortune was estimated by researchers for the Sunday Times Rich List at £10 million. Yet when Ian Cameron died in 2010, his estate was much smaller than might be expected, just £2.7 million.
In many cases, it's the politicians and their cronies and their families and so on, and the business people who sponsor the political parties who are using these offshore services themselves. So they've got no personal interest in closing it down. If they wanted to close it down, they could do it tomorrow. The fact of the matter is they don't want to do it because they themselves are complicit with the process.
If you come from the same kind of background, you know the right people, then all the kind of legal niceties will often fall away. You can get away with doing all sorts of things that they wouldn't just let any old person, if you came knocking on the...
When you have these woke revolutions, it requires all of us at some point to say.
All right, they are running their commercial once again. So let me click that off. We're here discussing important thing and YouTube wants to make it sell.
They have to make their money now. It's all about money and resources.
Yeah.
When people are dying, they're thinking of how to be the next billionaire. It's all about billionaire. Then they will bring designers things for us to buy. One handbag will be £10,000. And somebody will carry it and say, do you know how much this bag I'm carrying is?
Do you know how stupid you look? That will be the response. Do you know how stupid you look? Slave. You're a slave. You carry somebody else's bag that has somebody else's name. Pay him money. Oh, Jesus. You pay these people money to carry a bag that has their name or belt that has their name. And you're walking around like a slave. Here's my slave chain on my neck. I'm carrying it. I paid $10,000 to get my slave chain. Shame on you guys. Shame.
Please,
shame.
Please, please.
If you're part of the networks, you can do these kinds of things. So that's a very important part of the whole system. Upper class British public school kind of establishment that has been there since for centuries.
The British establishment, an old boys' network of privileged elites, had carved out a lucrative niche for themselves in the offshore world after the demise of empire. They transformed themselves from administrators of empire into financial handlers for the global elite and multinational corporations. As more money flowed offshore, societies around the globe began to feel the impact of the offshore world.
The reality is not what you believe, that your prime minister has the power to decide on the future of your country. The power is hidden here.
We have country after country around the world where the lack of financial transparency about taxation, about ownership, about corruption has undermined the extent to which governments deliver representative policymaking for their citizens. You know, we have extreme cases like the hiding of tax evasion by people in finance ministries in Greece, in France. But we also have this system that in general is geared towards anonymous company ownership, the anonymous ownership of properties across London, of half of the land in Scotland. You know, do we really think there's any circumstances in which governments work better, in which markets work better, in which the distribution of income and assets is better, when we allow so much to be hidden? Who wants to not know who you're doing business with? Who wants their government to have people working for it, or to be led by people whose assets are hidden, whose financial transactions are conducted anonymously offshore? You know, this is a bad direction for the world.
We need the citizens to understand what is happening, that they are the ones who is carrying the burden, and that some individuals having the power are exonerating themselves. Ordinary people are paying taxes, rich people are not. So this is inequality, and it is leading up to populism, because it shows so clearly that the people today leading the world are not able to take care of the interest of ordinary people.
Nope. Nope. They graduated from Ivy League schools.
Back in the 60s and 70s, you know, tax evasion or pushing back against taxation, it was kind of seen as anti-establishment. So, you know, the Rolling Stones and Phil Collins, all these people kind of going offshore, going away. It was seen as a sort of rebellious thing to do. And if you fast forward to the present day, now that is the establishment. The offshore system is the establishment.
Today, offshore is the way elites and multinational corporations conduct their affairs. Tax evasion is the way business is done.
This kind of sophisticated cheating requires a huge infrastructure. We like to talk about the pinstripe infrastructure of highly educated people who think it is their right to help others to cheat societies.
We have a new mafia in town. It does not actually shoot people, does not put bullets in their kneecaps, but its trade is just as deadly. It deprives people of opportunities to have healthcare, education, security, justice, and essentially a fulfilling life.
Accountants form the backbone of the offshore system. They administer the structures that allow individuals and corporations to shift their money offshore and evade taxes.
There are about 2.5 million professionally qualified accountants on this planet. About 330,000 are in the UK.
Well-known people, well-dressed, well-fed, highly paid, are sitting in city centre offices, and they are paid to dream up tax avoidance schemes for individuals and for corporations.
We can all elect a government which says, vote for us, we will give you better healthcare, better education, better security. And next day accountants say, sorry about that, folks, you elected this government, but we actually got a tax avoidance scheme, and the Amazons and the Googles and Microsofts won't be paying any taxes in your jurisdiction. Too bad you voted for it, but actually you're going to get something else.
So it's a crazy world that part of the business model at big accountancy firms is how to deny public the services by erosion of tax revenues. And these firms are then rewarded with government-funded contracts And the same firms are then advising local governments and the central governments, and the same firms then report on the company accounts and tell us all is well.
When I argue this with a Price Waterhouse partner in a face-to-face debate, he said, Professor Sikka, you never give us credit for anything. We generate millions of dollars of revenues, and we have lots and lots of satisfied clients. What is your problem? And my response was very simple. That's the language of drug pushers and pimps.
Yeah, it is. You're supplying them to keep themselves up.
In Britain, a new breed of civil servant was rising to the top. One such civil servant was Dave Hartnett, who rose to the top of HMRC, the UK tax authority. Dave Hartnett had a new way of collecting tax. Deals would be negotiated on an individual basis, behind closed doors. In the case of the largest clients, Dave Hartnett frequently led the negotiations himself.
What you want to add?
Yeah, I want to add on while it seems it's breaking. So my people, you can listen, if you listen to the it's not because they're stupid. It's not because they don't know what they're doing. Because sometimes our people think that, oh, these politicians, because each time you get one, you say, Buhari doesn't know anything, he's so stupid. Then you bring Tinubu doesn't know anything, he's so stupid. They don't know anything and they're succeeding, marrying wives and giving birth to children.
And ruling you.
These people are schemers. They are members of a sophisticated group sent on this earth to destroy humanity, to expand suffering, sorrow. And you know what? Your ignorance is making them succeed. That's the only thing. I read a comment, one of our brother, Ikenna Obibi Ezo Egon. He said you need to cleanse, internal cleansing. I said, from where to where? Who are you cleaning? Who are you living? That's what they want you to believe, so that you continue to buy your brothers and sisters, like they did in Ghana. And Jerry Rawlings said, this is not a good approach. Facing and looking for who to kill is not a good approach. Because when you kill this group, their children will wake up tomorrow and hear the story that it was you that killed their father, and they will come for you. You see, we are not helping ourselves. The only solution is information, getting accurate information. That's why we're here. You need to be trained on what the issues are so that you will know how to be part of the solution. If you are not well informed, you will not be part of the solution. You'll be part of the problem. There's something that Tony said here. He said, toppling the fraud of 1999 is the strategy for terminating the mischief of 1914. Those who do not understand this will be collateral damage in the collapse of the celebrated Lugadian edifice of crime the world calls Nigeria.
Crime, indeed. Big
edifice,
crime.
Yes, Lugadian edifice of crime. Because that's what it is. Nigeria is not a nation. They did not build Nigeria for you. Nigeria is an establishment of crime, iniquity, impunity, corruption, anything you can call it. It was intentionally created like this so that you will suffer, so that black man will suffer, so that you Nigerians will continue to suffer and suffer from generation to generation. And the easiest way you will make them succeed is to be ignorant. Because when you are ignorant, either by the church brainwashing you, or religion, any form of religion brainwashing you. Of course, religion is different from spirituality. Spirituality is man knowing who made him and how to relate with him. That's not what we're talking about. And it's on a personal note. But religion, the institutions set up by these colonial masters, by men, they set them up to brainwash you and make sure you don't understand what is happening to you. And you will keep blaming God for what human beings are doing against you. Meanwhile, God has blessed you and kept you on a land full of resources. And you say, oh, is the resources cost? What type of oil do we have? Dubai have it and they're prospering. We have it, but we're not prospering. That means God has blessed you. That means God is not your problem. God did not cause trouble for you. He blessed you with what you should have. But the problem is that the enemies of your soul are working against you. And how do you take care of it? By knowing what you should know. Understanding who your enemies are and who your friends are, so that you can work in alliance with your friends against your enemy. And you know what? Most of the time, these enemies are fewer in number. The percentage is so little. You have more good people and less bad people. It's just that the good people don't know what is happening to them and they're ignorant. But if people can get up and know what the truth is, they will know what to do. He said, trumpeter in their Masol brand of Biafra franchise. Oh, okay. Okay. So we are not doing all those stuff. Please, if you're here, we appreciate your comment, because as you make comments and ask questions, we will redirect you. That's why we're here. We can't move by emotion. Gone are the days of emotional movement. Hey, well, they're killing us. Come, they want to kill you. That's why they came. He said they came to kill, steal, and destroy. So you announcing that they are killing you, duh. That's what they should do. That's why they came, to kill you, actually. But what you need to know is to understand the solution on the table. You match strategy against strategy. If somebody is strategically destroying you, you have to strategically understand what to use against that person so that you can win and win big. We can do this because the resources are in our land. We are the indigenous people. But if you, as an indigenous person, you don't want to listen to information so that you be knowledgeable, you see, you'll be falling victim. If you shout, if it's not Mossab today, it will be IPOB tomorrow. You'll be doing the same thing that your people before you did and missed it. That's why 500 years, we are still in this slave camp. Meanwhile, we are intelligent enough to get out of this. But we are not using our intelligence. We want to run around and move on emotion. We are not doing all that anymore.
British Telecom was one of the first companies through the programme and received a refund of over £1 billion. BT's chief executive, Ben Verweyen, wrote, "Earnings per share up 14%, and nice to know that we have a £1 billion credit from the taxman." Dave Hartnett claimed this approach was more efficient.
Litigation in the courts is really phenomenally expensive in this day and age all over the world. And I think is to be avoided where possible. And the art is to persuade people to pay by strength of argument and the like.
After protests erupted in 2011, the Treasury Select Committee questioned Dave Hartnett. Dave Hartnett claimed he could not give any information due to taxpayer confidentiality.
What in statute prevents you from disclosing information to Parliament?
All my advice, Mr. Barclay, so far has been that I am prevented, and my colleagues are prevented, by the Act and by the decision of the Commissioners.
Dave Hartnett failed to mention that the legal advice he had received stated that the disclosure of information was at the discretion of the head of HMRC. The head of HMRC was Dave Hartnett himself.
Just like the mafia has penetrated the state, accountancy firms have also penetrated the state. The head of anti-avoidance in the UK tax authority is from one of these firms. The newly appointed chairman of Her Majesty's Revenue and Customs, which is a tax authority, is a partner from KPMG. Their partners have penetrated the state. They are running the treasury.
Britain's financial services industry had penetrated the state and began to shape its laws for its own benefit.
The degree of capture, political capture by the City of London, by the big banks and the big law firms, is so enormous that the politicians have effectively become their spokespersons.
With the government unwilling to act in the interest of the public, a group of protesters confronted Dave Hartnett at a private event in Oxford.
Hi everybody, I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm just going to take a few moments of your time. Here tonight to present Dave with an award. It is the Lifetime Achievement Award for services to corporate tax planning.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Dave's been a great friend to the industry, a great friend to many of us over the years. And, you know, really we just can't thank him enough for what he's done.
Obviously, us at Vodafone, you know, it saved us billions off our tax bill. And our friends at Goldman Sachs as well, we've also saved us millions as well.
25 million or so.
These people are trespassers and intruders.
And I know you had problems with
They
those
have,
pesky
this is an
protesters,
unlawful
but
conspiracy
we'd
to
really
trespass, and you will go, sir. You will depart immediately before we set the dogs on you.
Celebrating the criminal.
Okay, go. You're trespassing. Okay. You're trespassing, scum. Go.
After his retirement, Dave Hartnett moved to the private sector. One of his positions was at accountancy firm Deloitte, where he advises foreign governments on corporate taxation. Dave Hartnett is a companion of the Order of the Bath, an honour bestowed on him by the British monarch.
We have former ministers acting as advisors to accountancy firms. Accountancy firms provide jobs and consultancies for potential ministers. To my mind, really, it's an indication of corrupt structures. People are buying and selling influences. When a former minister works for an accountancy firm, he's not providing any accounting knowledge, he's opening political opportunities, home and abroad. That is what they are doing.
I hope by now you'll share my view that I don't trust most bankers, I don't trust most lawyers, I don't trust most accounting firms. I actually think they're engaged in a conspiracy against public interest.
In Britain, secrecy and complexity.
Your child needs these 3 factors to get into an Ivy League or...
No, it doesn't need. We are trying to keep our children away from their Ivy League.
We have broken your charms, okay? That's your ad. That's your fake ad. Who will go to and destroy the whole planet? It's over. We are not trying to do that.
No.
When you begin to identify female from male, hey, let us know.
Exactly.
When you begin to identify genocide from free speech.
Yes.
Send us an email.
Let us know.
Not serious.
Yes. You people cannot deceive the world anymore with your lies and deception and everything that cock and bull story cook up for the longest time. Can you imagine? We thought that people were going to be educated. We didn't know people were going to be brainwashed. Corrupted. When they come out, if you're saying A, they will say B. Look at Okonjo-Iweala.
Hey, well, don't say.
When you're talking A, they'll be talking B. Simple things do not make sense to them. But they will speak big English, come out with high economic policies that makes no sense. Meanwhile, IMF, World Bank that you are working for, they are duping our people and making our people poor.
Duping everybody.
Everybody.
Under your watch.
Under your watch. And you're celebrating positions. Ivy League indeed. Not sending your children there because the children come out.
Our brother said it's a magic spell. A magic spell works. That's their voodoo, man. The Dibia, they forgot to pay the Dibia. It's over. He stopped cooking medicine for them.
I'm telling you.
We have seen you guys, Ivy
Yes.
League graduates. The other one, where is the other one in Kaduna terrorizing them? They're calling himself governor. That's one of them.
Jibril, what's his name?
Yes, the one that came back here to do masters or whatever.
Yes,
That's governor.
El-Rufai,
the
body bag manager.
Yes,
the one that told them that if they come, he will body man because he knows them that together in the same group, they know themselves. That one's sponsoring them. They sponsor terrorism so that they can steal resources.
And he learned from the best.
He learns from the That's why we're unable to deal with terrorism. In Nigeria, I say Boko Haram for years, they can't deal with it because the people sponsoring it are the ones trying to deal with it. Who are you deceiving? Enough of this deception. Ozugozien. Stop deceiving our people. Stop deceiving humanity. Because everyone is dying, especially us women. We are the ones that go to labor room to bring out these children that humans that you're destroying every day. It needs to stop. Please go ahead.
It's insane, my dear. I am about to go half on the likes of Soludo and Okenja. She can't even tie her scarf.
No.
Oh no, I forgot because she went to Harvard. She can't tie it. They don't have time to tie scarf.
No, not time to tie scarf.
Cockroach and
yes,
throw it on their head.
I agree. Tie it like that because you're too intelligent.
And you can't say anything. No, don't say. You cannot comment. No, you can't comment.
No, don't comment. So
he's from Harvard.
Professor. World-class professor. Don't say anything. No, anyone she ties is the good one. Yes, we excuse her. She's too intelligent
to tie a scarf. Very intelligent, okay? Yes. Because my dear, it's very difficult nowadays to identify a male from a female. So don't even try it on me, okay?
They're deceiving themselves, not us. Telling cock and bull stories. Go ahead,
help
please.
to obscure corruption in public office. Financial structures are often so complex that even after they are publicly revealed, they are not widely recognized for what they are. An example of this is PFI, the Private Finance Initiative.
PFI is Private Finance Initiative. It is a way of funding public infrastructure, things like hospitals, schools, roads and bridges, but financing them via the private sector rather than historical method, which is via central government. Over a period of 30 or 40 years, the amount of kind of repayment costs will be sort of 3 or 4 times higher overall than if you borrowed it from central government in the first place. So it's basically a giant accounting scam. Once the PFI policy has been set up, you find that the big 4 accountancy firms were actually paid members of staff within the Treasury Department who were then actually going around and selling and advising upon the implementation of PFI contracts by public authorities.
Effectively saying, come to us and we will show you how to derive the most benefit from it. In other words, how to perhaps exploit the legislation.
Even the offices of the state tax authority are now owned offshore. HMRC, which is the tax collector here in the UK, their offices are owned in Bermuda by a company called Mapley Steps. It's quite incredible.
The company that owns the PFI contract to run HMRC's head office borrowed money from offshore investors at 15% interest.
Okay.
Because the interest was so high, the company was losing money. Therefore, it did not pay tax. In 2011, HMRC could not prove that any PFI company was paying any tax in the UK.
I think we need to have a serious conversation about the role of government in this whole debacle and how much our government has been penetrated by big banks and accountancy firms, and ultimately in whose interest it operates. The reason we were protesting outside the Africa PPP conference is that we wanted to make sure that citizens back in Africa should hear about the fact that such policies have been a complete failure
Thank you, my
here in
brother.
the UK. We know that these products are not being marketed to African countries in their own best interests. Their only motivation is to spread the reach of financial services into new markets. It's all being promoted in the interest of the City of London. What you're seeing is basically a second form of colonialization. You've had initially occupation, resource extraction, and through that process, countries like Britain, which have had a large offshore empire, have developed significant networks, and now those networks are being used to promote and exploit financial services.
The City of London was the beating financial heart of the British Empire. As Britain's empire declined, the city transformed itself from a hub operating the financial machinery of empire into a global financial center. Former insignificant outposts of empire became the basis for a spider's web of offshore secrecy jurisdictions that captured wealth from across the globe and funneled it to the City of London. Today, 25% of international finance is conducted on British territory. Almost half of the world's secrecy jurisdictions are under British protection. Up to half of all offshore wealth may be hidden in Britain's offshore havens. Financial services is how Britain's elites make their money. And it is also where former government ministers, senior civil servants, and retired spooks from MI5 and MI6 receive lucrative consulting positions after their time in public service. Together, they have transformed Britain and its dependencies into the world's largest tax haven, harming development throughout the world and turning Britain itself into a country that serves, above all, the interests of its elites.
All right, we'll end this video here. As you can see, once again, our God is alive and well. Because people think, oh, we are not only against God. We have the information that we need to understand who is doing what and what is doing who, so that we can keep things moving. So you can see that they never let. They've put things in place so that they can continue to funnel our money down to their pipeline. It belongs to them. So they don't have to do all these things, come and stay in your country and, enslave you and put chain on your neck. No, that's too much wahala. Why would they be doing that when they can be drinking red wine by the Cayman Island? They don't have time for that. So the only way we can overcome these challenges, I don't even know if I should call them challenges, revelations, for those of us that are confused, we have an answer for it. And it is the Nina strategy. That's the only thing that will truly, truly return our sovereignty back to the indigenous peoples, to the owners of the land. Anything else will not suffice. Anything else is fake. Anything else has been captured. Anything else will not serve your purpose or your intent. It's all a facade. So we need to end this madness. Their children is helping us. They are coming out and telling us, hey, this is why you're where. This is why you can't go anywhere. This is why you're stuck. This is why we can't move forward. The information is there. And we thank God for Ninas, because that's the only strategy that you cannot buy. We are not for sale. Like I have, we know which one is a woman and a man. We know them. We can tell you. We are not confused. Neither did we go and wine and dine with them in an IMF and drank all their wines and start behaving like they are. We are indigenous people, so we still have our ancestors' DNA in us. And it tells us to protect our own kind. It tells us to speak for our own kind. It tells us to fight for our own kind. And that's what we are here for. So anything else will not suffice until that 1999 fake, fraudulent, unitary, terrorist, bandit constitution is taken down. Go ahead, my sister.
Thank you very much. So to bring it to the table where we are today, we're saying it's time to end British rule as world power. It's time. It has to end. Because we told you that this thing will start with slavery, colonialism, neocolonialism. Colonialism, and then they went, when they said end colonialism, they brought neocolonialism, which is financial colonialism. Slave trade, colonialism, neocolonialism must stop because these people are running criminality everywhere. Targets of the indigenous peoples, like my sister has said, is to end colonialism, is to destroy that 1884-85 Berlin Conference that the enemy brought. 1884 balkanization of African nations that colonial monsters did. 1884-85. That is our target. It has to end because that is divide and conquer. Colonialism, that's what it is. Neocolonialism, financial colonialism have to end. We have told you, if you look at what is happening in your country, Nigeria as a case in point, Western countries through IMF and World Bank, they pressure your criminal African leaders to make Africans poor through their useless, backward, merry-go-round policies. Give you an example. Privatization of state-owned businesses and companies. You saw when Obasanjo and Atiku, they carried it. Yes, these state-owned companies, we need to privatize them. Meanwhile, they just want to buy them up for their colonial agents. They buy the companies that the people should own, buy on behalf of the colonial masters. That's what they did. That's what they call privatization. You saw when IBB did structural adjustment program. Tell me, that structural adjustment program that IBB did, what is the difference between it and what Buhari did and what Tinubu is currently doing? They are all dancing to the IMF, World Bank, to the Western colonial monsters. That's what they're doing. Devaluation of African currencies. Today, they devalue Naira. They devalue it again. They devalue it. There is a target. They want to increase the suffering of the people. You saw Tinubu coming with, oh, I want to increase school fees of universities and unitary schools by giving them loan. False. They are not trying to encourage education. If there's anything, they will want to discourage education, because if you are informed, you will not fall prey of what they're doing. And they will tell you, education is cheap in Nigeria. What do you mean by that? What is the standard of living in Nigeria? What is the cost of living? What is minimum wage? That when you give somebody that loan, the person will be able to now work when he finishes going to school to now pay for the loan. When there are no schools, no companies, no manufacturing anything that will take care of this whole thing, and you give them loan. You say, look at abroad. That's what they're doing. Why are you comparing banana to pineapple?
Do you have the $20 trillion that they're hiding in Cayman Island?
We want to tell our people to wake up. Electricity bill, the one that produces darkness. These things are not for the people. Okay, look at the increased fuel pump price in the name of removing subsidy. That never existed. The subsidy never existed. People have been raising invoices to collect subsidy money. NNPC and Nigerian government cannot even say who they have been paying the subsidy to. The so-called oil marketers. Look at Oando PLC, headed by Tinubu's nephew, Wale Tinubu. They said they did not collect any subsidy. So who did they give their subsidy to? We heard that the money is running in trillions. In 2023, we heard it's about 2 trillion. 2022, 4.2 trillion. 2021, 3 trillion. 2020, 1 or 2 trillion. When you're hearing the trillion, you're saying, what is this? What are they talking about? Yet, this country is number 6 oil producing country in the world. They make policies to make small scale companies, which are the employer of labor, to close down. Today they change money. Tomorrow they upgrade Naira. Tomorrow they downgrade Naira. They go it up, inflation. No single place that they're going. All they're doing is merry-go-round.
Yeah.
Wasting everybody's time.
So you would think they're doing something.
Hmm?
So you would think they're doing
So
something.
you think they're doing something. Just trying to make Nigerians suffer, make life difficult for them, so that nobody can ask them questions as they continue to do whatever they're doing. Because if they're serious about looking for the money, they know the criminals, which are their partners. They should go and meet them to return the money. But they will not now, because they are criminals. They shared this money intentionally. They said that the House of Rep, that they were conducting probe from 2013 to 2020 to find out where the oil money went to. 23, the profile of 23 oil producing companies are not known. These are the people trading the oil in Nigeria. Their profile are not known. They did not bring out anything from their probe. NNPC will give contracts in billions and trillions to their friends. And when they turn around, they will increase fuel pump price, and people are suffering. Meanwhile, we heard that if the pump price is 195 naira, that even at 195 naira, that NNPC will making gain of 100 naira per liter. But see what it is now. Where is the money going to? No wonder all the criminal presidents always become petroleum minister. Tinubu, Buhari, all of them, they must be on top of petroleum. It will be direct to them. So are they there to supervise what is going on? No. So that the money can come direct into their pocket and the pocket of their friends, their brothers, their wives, their sisters, their everybody. And we're telling our people to wake up. Wake up so that we can fix this system. So that we can deliver you. Thank you.
Thank you, my sister. All right, we're running out of time. We'll see you guys next week. Please help us to share this information.
Thank you.
This video is actually on our page on its entirety, so you can watch it. You can also watch it by the show as we call out some of the important informations on that video. So we will see you guys next week. We are not relenting. As much as we don't give up on our children, even when they do something bad, we stand there. We will hit you on the neck and knock you back to the land. The right things must be done, and that's what we're here for. So if you want to join what we are doing and come along with those that are for the truth, for righteousness, for the people that just want goodness and mercy for their people, come and join us. You have come to the right place, and we are not going back until freedom, true freedom, reigns in our land. Until next week, be safe.
Bye.
Bye.